Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marati. A brand new Wrestling Insider Special Edition begins next.
Wrestling fans, get ready for a weekend of the unpredictable as the Berzerker, John Nord, returns to MWF Studios in Melrose the weekend of Saturday, January the 22nd. Wrestling Insider Throwback Thursday tapings, live episodes, watch-alongs, cyber autograph signings, and more. Boston Wrestling Patreon fans can meet the Berzerker for free. For more information and mail order info, head on over to thebostonwrestling.com super site now. Don't miss the Berzerker January 22nd. Wrestling fans, we warned you this day would come. Unfortunately, we're running out of original episodes of Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 10 p.m., but we're starting up that Indiegogo. You can help the cause. You can help Marty's show continue each and every week. Nobody does it like Marty. We had an incredible time with him at our 20th anniversary bash, November 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. We want to have the good times keep on rolling, but we can't do it without you. Look for the Indiegogo link in the comment section below or across our website and social media platforms. We have some great perks, great rewards where you can even meet Marty himself. There's nothing like it. Since July of 2020, every week we've brought you the show. We need your help to keep on going. We tell you, without wrestling fans, there is no professional wrestling, and there's no better time to help the cause now. Let's keep Marty rocking each and every Thursday night. Wrestling fans looking for the perfect holiday gift? Discount VIP packages and tickets to Boston Wrestling Soul Survivor 10 Back to the 80s, Saturday night, April the 16th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts are on sale now. Join WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts, three-time WWE Tag Team Champions Axe and Smash Demolition, The Wild Berzerker, and more 1980s legends to be announced. Take part in a VIP exclusive Q&A session. Meet the wrestling icons up close and personal in an autograph and photo fan fest. Then get ready as the superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow take part in a night of white-hot in-ring action. Discount VIP packages and tickets are on sale now for a limited time at bostonwrestling.com. Join us for a professional wrestling reunion decades in the making, April the 16th.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to another brand new Wrestling Insider Special Edition. Very happy to be having this gentleman with us. Got great reviews from your first episode with us. They like you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, there's been, I hate to say it, a couple of talents that I have thought have been really good, and the fans just, they never seem to take to the interviews. And I always wondered why, because it's not like the fans gave great detailed explanations as to why, but you know what, if they like you, they like you. So we'll take it. We like positive more than negative.
You're damn right. I'll take it.
All right, let's talk about, we touched upon it just a tad in your first episode, but Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yes.
What was it that led you there? Was it that Jim Cornette was involved kind of in the office at that point when you were doing enhancement work in '94? Did you reach out to them? What brought a pre-D'Lo Brown to Smoky Mountain?
Funny story. So I was in the Monster Factory rolling around, and you remember Balls Mahoney, right?
Oh, yeah.
Rest his soul. He had just gotten hired
Was
down
he
there.
Boo Bradley?
Boo Bradley.
Yep.
Now, the thing about Balls Mahoney is he did not have a driver's license, so he got hired for a job, but he could not get from New Jersey to Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, right.
So he comes into the school and goes, "Hey, is there anybody who wants to make the drive?" And before he finished, I was like, "I got you." So in that, we went down to Tennessee. And I had a little match there for Cornette. He gave me 8 minutes and liked what he saw. And I'll say something. See, and I only give perspective from my side. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you a little add-on to this as the story goes. But I went out there, had a match. Cornette liked what he saw, and I got a job. Well, lo and behold, I talked to New Jack one time, and New Jack was there as the Gangsters, and Cornette wanted to add some bodies to the Gangsters. So literally, New Jack is sitting there talking to Cornette. Cornette's like, "We need to add somebody." And New Jack looks in the ring and goes, "Add him," pointing at me. So that's how Cornette goes, you want me to add him to the Gangsters? And New Jack's like, yeah. Boom. So that's how I got my opportunity.
Well, on our Tuesday night program, Wrestling Insight is Extreme, a look at kind of the superstars that were and helped create the ambiance that was Extreme Championship Wrestling. New Jack was with us, as we had noted, and some tremendous interviews if you haven't had a chance to check him out yet. But we did get into his Smoky Mountain time, and he mentioned it was, for African Americans, it could be a challenging place in a lot of ways.
Yes.
He said that Cornette said we need to add more African Americans to the faction, and he said him.
Yes.
So basically, what you just said right now, he was a big proponent of yours early on. Did you get a chance to know him early on, or do you think he was just impressed maybe by your size?
I think it was size, and I fit the bill. And then we got to know each other after that, because we started riding together after that. So we really became, we bonded. Him, Mustafa, and myself really bonded after that. And yeah, Tennessee back then was a crazy place. And you think about 3 black guys running around in the middle of the South, telling white people how bad they were. Didn't pay, wasn't an easy way to live. I mean, but that's real heat. That's wrestling heat.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to literally kill us. So we'll take it, because if they're willing to want to do that, then they're willing to pay to see you lose. And when you don't lose, it pisses them off more. So we had some tremendous heat down in Tennessee.
Well, in our brief conversation that we had earlier, I think I told you my thoughts on Jack.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, as someone that knew him far better than I did,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think the biggest misconception of New Jack is? That the fans that have never met him or spent personal time with him wouldn't know.
I think, and not that it's anyone's fault, but people got caught up with the New Jack character and didn't get to know Jerome.
Right.
And it's 2 different people there. And if you knew Jerome was the guy who would sit on the floor and roll around with kids and play with kids and giggle and laugh. But then New Jack's the guy who would blast you over top the head with a steel chair. But I think people got hung up in the character of New Jack, and to his credit, he didn't expose his personal self to the world. But I think that's
he protected the gimmick.
He protected the gimmick. Yeah. So and because the gimmick would lose its aura if you actually knew who he was outside of the fatigues and the shirt. So I was fortunate that I got to know Jerome Young first, and then I got to meet New Jack. So I got to see the good side of it, but not only the good side of it, but the vulnerable
human side.
Yeah. I mean, that was Jerome. So I always think of him as that. I mean, it's hard for me sometimes to see, the mass transit incident or stuff like that. That's hard for me to look at sometimes, because I'm like, man, he's in a different place. But Jerome Young is my dude. I love him.
It's almost like he would turn into a different person when the bell would ring.
He had to. It's what you do.
Yeah.
We're all different people.
Right.
Like, this guy here is not the guy who goes to the ring. That's a whole different person. But, Jack's character was so extreme, for lack of a better term, it scared people.
Yeah, I mean, it was so disappointing to learn that he had passed. We had planned on doing, after the first day was so much fun and was so successful, we planned on doing 2 more full days just a month later. And like I mentioned, I said I thought my phone had broken. I was at a Red Sox game for the first time in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Had that limited capacity to like 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is wrong with my phone? I started getting mad. And it was just message after message after message. Did you know New Jack died? Did you know New Jack died? TMZ links and things like that. Even our buddy Andy Wong up at Kowloon, at the Kowloon Entertainment Dining Complex on Route 1. He took the time. Great food. He took time from his busy schedule to message me in case I hadn't heard about it. And it's strange where, I didn't know him all that well beyond that. I'd been him a few times, but that one day, we spent the better part of 6 or 7 hours together, and then dinner, and I think we kind of bonded. I think the fans could tell there was a great chemistry, and we had great fun. I mean, you talk about some of the most brutal, violent tales. Then it would get into, like you said, some of the stories with his new wife and things that went on in kids. Then he'd go the vile route. He talked about his relationship with one of the WWE divas who had a certain like, and he said he turned around one time and it looked like a child eating a fudgicle, but that's a different story.
That's a whole different story.
Time. There was just such a wide variety to the man. And I just wish, I think the series, if we did it the way I wanted to, I think it would have brought out a whole new version of him for people to, maybe if they didn't exactly respect certain things that he did in the ring during his career, I think they would have liked the human being a lot more.
Oh, I think so too. And I know when I found that I was at Impact TV and Tommy Dreamer.
Is that where you were when you found out? Yeah.
I remember Tommy walking across the room, and I look at Tommy, and he had Tommy's always a fun-loving guy, but he had this serious look on his face. He walked up to me, goes, "Can I talk to you for a second?" I was like, "Okay." He goes, "No easy way to say this, Jack Pass." I was like, "What?" And so I was in the middle of agenting a match, and I was like, "Guys, I need to go just go sit for a minute." And I just went and sat and just started reminiscing. And then it was like a couple days later, I was on the phone with his wife, and she and I speak all the time now. Like, I was literally 2 nights ago on the phone with her till 2 a.m. my time, just telling Jack's story. So that's like my little sister.
What a nice lady. And we mentioned that, again, I think earlier on tonight when we were talking, and how they met when he was stuck in the hospital in Atlantic City, and all of his friends in the Northeast, no one would go out of their way to, for whatever reason, to come and see him or help him or anything. And this fan from North Carolina reached out to him, took a leap of faith on social media, and they became fast friends. And she came up to visit him in that hospital, and romance blossomed from there. They became a couple eventually and married together. And I think I told you, and I don't want to take anything away from those that love the hardcore legend, but I remember asking him to Kowloon that night when we had dinner, as I told you. I said, "Well, with all the stuff about you online, what do the kids think of you?" He said, "They look at me like I'm a big damn toy."
Yep. And
he loved it. That's the thing.
Jack.
He didn't resent it. He loved it.
He embraced
That's how
it.
they looked at it. Yeah.
No. He to know him, his heart was as big as his table, literally and figuratively. He didn't show it to everybody, but if he let you in, his heart was as big as that table.
I think back that just such great vibes when I left him that night at the hotel, and to think we were going to do it about a month later for 2 days, just a really missed opportunity. And for all those people that said to me, "Oh, you're an idiot for bringing him in. He's going to be nothing but trouble." Blah 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 blah. It was the complete opposite. It was a great experience. One I wish we get to do a lot more of, but. That's wrestling.
That's wrestling. But the lesson is, if there's someone out there that you've been missing to talk to, give him a call.
Yeah.
Give him a shout. Because you never know, and if something happens, you never get that chance again, and you'll hate yourself for it. So,
what about the guy that is so often forgotten when the Gangsters get mentioned? Mustafa.
Yes.
Tell us something about Mustafa, because I know virtually nothing about Mustafa, other than the fact he exists.
Mustafa is, he's very much what you see on TV. He's a man of few words, has a tremendous presence about him. He's
big guy.
He's 6'6".
Yeah.
He's as, shoulders as wide as a house. But another one of those fun-loving guys who
really,
yeah. I mean, once he lets you into his world, he's a fun-loving dude. As a matter of fact, that night I was on the phone with Mustafa, and he and I talked for 3 hours, just giggling, crying back and forth, talking about Jack. So he's just a good dude. He's a fun-loving guy. He lives out in Reno, Nevada now.
Oh, does he?
Just
Nevada guy? Okay.
Just right up the highway, about 8 hours. Yeah.
Oh, so maybe if you meet him up for dinner every
I hit Reno at least. I hit Reno at least once a year. So.
Yeah, so there you go. Got a friend out there to hook up with. What were your initial impressions of Cornette? I'm sure you came across him at WWF at those TV tapings.
Well, I came across. It was Smoky Mountain's first place that I'd been around him.
Okay.
At a consistent basis. He was when I went to do enhanced work. He was still, I think, WCW. What WCW was, NWA or whatever it was. He was still down there.
Oh, okay.
But then when I got around about Smoky Mountain, obviously there's the Cornette that I grew up watching, and then you see parts of it, but then you listen to him teach the business, and it's like, whoa, this dude is like a professor. Like, I need to shut up and listen and learn, and that's all I would hang around him. I would listen to him. I'd watch him direct promos, and I'd be like, whoa. I used to hate you and your mama, and now I think you're the coolest thing walking. So when I really got to know him was in Smoky, and he and I have been friends ever since. And I could call him for advice right now, and he'd be willing to give me any kind of advice at this moment. And right now, I call him. It's whatever time it is in Louisville, I call him, and if he was awake, he'd pick up the phone.
He's one of the more polarizing figures in the business right now, as he is very, very outspoken in what can be a sometimes sensitive world in 2021. Do you ever get a chance to listen to his podcast?
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's too over the top? Do you think it's maybe just right? Do you think it's what wrestling fans need in a day and age where, like we said, the business has changed so much?
I think Cornette has a strong opinion on how he believes this business should be presented. And he's willing to say it in the harshest way sometimes to get your attention. But I always say, don't get caught up in the messenger, because then you bury the message. And he wants you to hear his message on what he believes wrestling was about. And until the end of time, he's been involved in wrestling and made a lot of money at a lot of key points, and he's been high up in offices in many companies. And he's been next to some of the great ones in terms of knowledge of this business. So, I mean, do I find his stuff abrasive? No, but I come from a different generation.
Right.
Do I think it can be perceived as abrasive? Yes, but that's just for the listener and how they perceive it.
If you don't know the person, or if you weren't around during that era, I can understand the reaction that it gets sometimes. But I look at it as, this is a man I was extremely grateful to, that he decided to take his weekends when he was making a heck of a lot of money for WWF to come and do independent shows for Tony Rumble and try and give some independent guys some rub managing them. You know what I mean? I mean, again, it's one of the things I look at as being very lucky. As a promoter, I mean, was he good to work for, or easy to work for?
Oh, he was easy to work for. He had a specific way of things he wanted done, and as long as you did it that way, you never had an issue. But I found him completely professional. And then when I would go up to do enhancement matches when he was up there, then I saw how he would take bits of WWF at that time, and he made a little small version of Smoky Mountain. And I'm like, okay, now I see where he gets this from. Now I see. Now, okay. And you can see by the way the formats were laid out, or the run sheets, or how he laid things out. It was very much off the Vince model. So
even though he was a very intelligent man that knew the business backwards and forwards, even he at that point was still learning bits and pieces from his time in WWF, just to do things in a different way. When
you're around, and at the end of the day, Vince McMahon, like him or hate him, he's the most successful wrestling promoter in the history of this planet. If you can learn anything from him, it behooves you to take that in.
Sure.
I don't care who you are, how long you've been around. And if Cornette saw an easier way to produce something, boom. If you learned it from there, awesome. If you learn, whatever. But when you have the most successful promoter in the world, you're literally on his learning tree. You have to listen. You gotta kind of take all that advice in.
And it was great for the guys in Smoky Mountain too, because there again, it made the professional life a little easier.
Well, he was grooming us to be on their TV, because his TV was a mini version of it. So it made the transition to a WWF ring a lot easier, because I had the TV experience from him and the way he put it together, because it's the same model. So it was just, okay, the building got bigger, but everything else is still the same. So,
did you look at your time as Smoky Mountain as perhaps a stepping stool to get to WWF on a full-time basis?
Yeah, that was. I tell everybody that Smoky Mountain was my college education of wrestling. That's where I got my foundation. And yes, you wanted to move forward from that spot. So yes, that was my step up to get to the next level.
And you know what? At a time when the territories were dying, I mean, there really wasn't. It was slim pickings. I mean,
Smoky was one of the last.
Smoky Mountain, and you had Memphis.
Yeah, Smoky, Memphis, and Heartland in Cincinnati.
And the WWF.
And WWF bought that over. I mean, there wasn't even a territory in Florida at that time.
No,
there was nothing. It was Smoky and Memphis.
What a dead time!
Yeah.
What a dead time. Yeah.
So there really wasn't a lot of places to work. And there's Puerto Rico.
Obviously, right, Puerto Rico, yeah.
Carlos Colon was there, but continental United States. I mean, there was small stuff up in Calgary, but not that much, and there was stuff out in Canada. But
was it full time though?
No, well, most of that was a lot of Canadians. You couldn't go up there for too terribly long and wrestle because you're not legal to go up there and work.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So you'd go up there for a weekend, and that was it.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Right. All right, wrestling fans, as we continue D'Lo's journey through Smoky Mountain, we remind you, we implore you, there's a reason why I have Mr. Kringle on this fine shirt. We are preparing for our annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. It is fantastic. It is phenomenal. It is a way to honor a man that loved our industry as much as Jim Cornette or anyone else we've mentioned on this show. The one and only Paul Bearer, the guiding light of The Undertaker, Kane, Mankind. He was the guy that led Ravishing Rick Rude down in Florida. He was the guy that was on World Class Championship Wrestling causing mayhem down in Texas. And he was the guy that helped this organization in so many different ways that I love him like a second dad. So right now, we're going to take a brief time out. We'll be back with more D'Lo Brown on the flip side.
Tickets are on sale now for Soul Survivor 10 Back to the 80s, our live event and fan fest Saturday, April the 16th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Mass. Head on over to bostonwrestling.com now. The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, Sunday, January the 5th, 1986. In the opening contest, Pedro Morales beat Moondog Spot. Jose Luis Rivera with the win over Rene Goulet. Hercules defeated Leaping Lanny Poffo. Scott McGee drew Tiger Chung Lee. World Wrestling Federation World Champion Hulk Hogan retained the title over WWF Tag Team Champion Brutus Beefcake. The Junkyard Dog victorious over WWF Tag Team Champion Greg the Hammer Valentine via countout. And Corporal Kirchner and King Tonga battled Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik to a double disqualification. If you were in Baltimore live, share your memories in the comment section below. Keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view, watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com. Wrestling fans, we warned you this day would come. Unfortunately, we're running out of original episodes of Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 10 p.m., but we're starting up that Indiegogo. You can help the cause. You can help Marty's show continue each and every week. Nobody does it like Marty. We had an incredible time with him at our 20th anniversary bash, November 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. We want to have the good times keep on rolling, but we can't do it without you. Look for the Indiegogo link in the comment section below or across our website and social media platforms. We have some great perks, great rewards where you can even meet Marty himself. There's nothing like it. Since July of 2020, every week we've brought you the show. We need your help to keep on going. We tell you, without wrestling fans, there is no professional wrestling, and there's no better time to help the cause Now, let's keep mighty rocking each and every Thursday night.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. At Survivor Series, it was champion versus champion as WWE champion Drew McIntyre battled Universal champion Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. Get this 11x14 poster autographed by all three men. Limited edition, number 42 of only 50, with authentication hologram on the back of the poster itself. Comes with a mystery autographed 8x10 photo and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to Wrestling Insiders. Very happy to be joined by the man of the hour, the multi-time WWE Intercontinental European Champion, D'Lo Brown, right now one of the masterminds behind what you're seeing each week, every Thursday night at 8 p.m. on Impact on AXS TV, hashtag. Just an exciting time in pro wrestling, but always fun to revisit what, I think everybody looks at sometimes as the quote-unquote good old days from when they were younger, even if sometimes the days weren't so good. They might be old days, but...
I will tell you, we didn't have a lot of money. There were times, things were rough, but it was one of the most fun times I've ever had in the business, being out there, because you're doing it with your friends, enjoying life, and you're learning your craft. It's like no different than going away to college. College is not full of peanut butter well, a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So, but it's not all big steak dinners and everything. You struggle, but you get your education, and that's what I did. It was fun. Some of the most fun I ever had was I'll give you an example. We had the Smoky Mountain Flophouse, okay? Morristown, Tennessee. In the house were Balls Mahoney, Bruiser Bedlam, Anthony Michaels, who was Little Snot Dudley.
Oh, okay.
New Jack, Mustafa, myself, Chris Jericho.
Oh my God.
And Lance didn't live there, so there were 7 of us.
Was it a house?
It was a house.
Apartment?
It was a house. There were 7 of us. Rent was $350 a month, and we couldn't make it all the time. And there were 7 of us.
Really?
But
the money was that bad, huh?
Well, in general, everything was, you made by, so it was what it was.
New Jack told the story in one of the interviews that we did, that one of the things that he and Mustafa would do to try and find, instead of spending money on a hotel or whatever it may be, they'd try and go to a nightclub and whatnot and find a rap that had a place of their own, and then they, New Jack would usually room with the woman, and Mustafa would usually stay on the couch. Yeah, was the way he put it. But
he was,
smart, I guess, if nothing else, right? It wasn't costing him anything.
No, you got to a town, you hung out, and you found a girl who had her own apartment or place. Yep. And then, hopefully, you got a connection with her, and every month you come back, you visit there. And
you could have a regular, syndicate. I hate to say, categorize it like that, but almost a syndicate of different ladies. And a lot of them, well-meaning, a lot of them.
Yeah,
not every one of them was the proverbial quote-unquote ring rat. A lot of them were just nice ladies that wanted to be around wrestlers.
I still have some friends today that I met in my time in Tennessee who were just people who liked wrestling. It was no different than hockey, where you have a sponsor family when you move to a town. It's the exact same thing. There's some people who just would like to help the wrestlers out, and they'd give you food or they'd bring you drinks, and if you need a place to stay and crash, you can crash their place.
The big thing, help with the laundry.
And always help with the laundry. Always help with the laundry. Laundry.
The laundry was a big thing.
Laundry is always a big
help
thing.
With that.
Yes.
That was a friend. They don't need any other label placed upon them. They help with the laundry.
If you're gonna
forget about food, the laundry.
Yeah. But was the money tight?
Money was tight, but it was what it was. You just knew when you got money, you didn't spend it all, and you you put it away, and then you would work a lot trying to get, merchandise sales, or if you had a free day off and you could go to another promotion that was close enough to Smoky Mountain where you could, get a few dollars, then you did that.
Well, you were allowed to work outside of Smoky Mountain
If they were companies that were good with Cornette.
Oh, okay.
So like, we would go up to the Lestat up in Cincinnati. There'd be a place there in Erlanger, Kentucky. We'd wrestle there. There would be stuff we would go back and forth and would wrestle in different places.
Geez, I lost my train of thought for a second. That would almost never happen on this show. But for merchandise sales and whatnot, were you allowed to keep your own gimmick money, or did Smoky Mountain produce its own merch?
A lot of that stuff you're allowed to can keep your own merch because we produce it. We'd
So
go
you'd
buy
make like your own 8x10s
yes,
or
and then
t-shirts and stuff
they'd go
like
sell
that?
at the merchandise table
Oh,
if
that's
they
a pretty
could.
good deal.
So, and then really a lot of times like guys like the Rock and Roll Express were really good because they would kill in merchandise. Well, they would come back and they'd go, "Hey, bro, there's $20 or $30 because without the heel, there's no baby face."
Well, that really says a lot about them.
So they would come back and go, "Here's $30, bro." I did all right at the merch stand. They'd give me, Jack and Mustafa here, just a couple dollars.
Wow, wasn't that nice?
And they would do that. They would do that occasionally. So that was another way I saw how professional the business was. It wasn't any more a hobby now. This was real. This was real.
Kevin Sullivan used to do that with me when he would come up for Tony Rummel during the Nitro era. He would, I guess the phrase would be, borrow a few boxes of T-shirts of NWO stuff, and they know they could trust me with the money and whatnot. And at the end of the night, he'd tip me a few bucks, and he'd say, "Do you want to take a few shirts for you or your friends or whatever?" And the borrowing really didn't cost him anything. So,
right.
And I always appreciated that as a high school kid. I thought I would have done it for free. What I
Yeah,
mean?
but
Never mind.
that $20 or $30 means a lot.
Yeah.
Means a lot.
Yeah. More to me than to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever I would do independent stuff and I would sell a lot of merch, I would always get someone local there and then have them sell my merch. And at the end, I would just go, "Here, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and effort." And, you didn't have to do that, But that's learning the lesson. You pay it forward.
Kindness goes a long way in this industry, as I've found.
Well,
There are times it will let you down,
Yes.
but I think there were a lot of times, as I think maybe before we did that live autograph signing, or maybe during it, but I said, you know what? In this industry, with probably 95 to 99% of the guys, if you're genuinely kind to them, you treat them with respect, and you honor your word, they're going to treat you the same way back.
Absolutely right.
That's why I hate when people like Tony Atlas is one that is always negative about, if you leave this business with, 2 or 3 friends, you should consider yourself lucky. I don't look at it like that way at all. I think you can make a lot of great friends in this industry. They might not be people that you go to Applebee's with, a couple of times a month and hang out with, but in almost something like the Cauliflower Alley Club, you might see them once a year, or if they don't attend every year, you just, when you do see them, you are so happy to see them, and it's like you pick up like you did a week, like you just saw them a week ago. And I think that's one of the great things about wrestling.
Wrestlers are a weird breed. I can go 5 years without seeing anybody, and then walk into a room, and it's like we were together 5 minutes ago.
Well, look at how long it's been since you did some shows for us.
Right.
I mean, we just picked up just
Let's
like
go.
this doing these shows. Yeah.
I think when you can tell who people are, if they're kind and genuine people, you can tell.
Yeah.
And I tend to flock to those type of people. So when they're around me, I feel it. I'm vibing with it. You feel comfortable. Let's go. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
So
Well, I like that we think the same way on that. November of 1994 in the world of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Lance Storm was finishing up.
yes,
He had his final match, and he had his final Smoky Mountain Wrestling match with D'Lo Brown. You have memories of maybe not particularly that match if you don't remember much about it, but just Lance and working with Lance in general.
I remember working with Lance. He was really good even back then. And he was very giving and wanted to make sure that that the match was the important thing for both of us. And it was cool watching him and having him put the match together, and then inviting me in to help put it together with him. And then we went out there and we worked well together. We had a good chemistry in the ring, and we worked seamlessly. And I remember him thanking me at the end of it. And the next time we saw each other, we were in WWE
Did you guys work in WWE at all? I know if you did, it probably wasn't anything too meaningful.
It wasn't, and I think at that point we were ships in the night, like we were in the same building, but
Yeah.
we would be there all the time.
Yeah.
Because when he went to WCW, then when WCW came up to us, he came up with them, and then it was not too long after I left, and he continued on.
Yeah. So if you did do anything, it might have been a heat match.
It might have been a heat match.
Something very forgettable.
Yeah, it wasn't anything over the top.
But you enjoyed the Smoky Mountain version.
Oh yeah, it was cool because he was the youngest good guy I'd ever been in the ring with, like talent. Up until that point, it was Ricky and Robert, Tracy Smothers, Dirty White Boy. It was older talent, so he was the one. He was my age, so it was cool to be in there.
But
with
you
someone,
guys are right around the
yeah,
same
it'd be
age?
cool to be in there with someone my age and going out there and having a good match. So,
I always liked Lance Storm's work an awful lot. I just think, if anything else, it was the lack of personality that kind of held him back from being a top of the card type
but
superstar.
his lack of personality became his gimmick.
I think anytime you try and encourage the fans to chant boring, you're not helping the cause.
Yes,
I never understood that one.
I'll give you that, but I used to always say when he would say, I love when he would say, "Let me be serious for a minute."
Yeah, that was funny.
I used to
That
love
was
that,
funny.
and he would say this in this very deadpan way. If I could be serious for a moment.
About as serious as you're ever going to get to begin with.
Yes.
And then he needs to toss that in. That was funny.
I thought that was entertaining.
One I thought was very interesting, very unique. Just a couple of days after WrestleMania 11 in Hartford, Connecticut, fresh off a victory of King Kong Bundy, the Undertaker came to Smoky Mountain for a couple of shots just a couple of days later, which is almost unheard of
Yes.
nowadays. But revenge was needed on these gangsters, and the man that they called in was the man with the cape and the dark hat, and I'm pretty sure Paul Bearer came with him too for that.
Came with him, yes.
Your memories of the Undertaker coming to Smoky Mountain Wrestling to help, I think it was Bob Armstrong, seek revenge
Yeah, Bob Armstrong, Tracy Smothers
on
the Gangsters.
on the
Jack
Gangsters.
Mustafa.
Yeah, what was going on?
Bro, it was that was like when Cornette first said, we're bringing in Undertaker. I think it was the Bluegrass Brawl because it was in Johnson City, Tennessee, and then Pikeville, Kentucky the next day, I believe. And when he said he was bringing him in and he was going to work us, man, that is like the ultimate pat on the back. Like, you know what, we can trust you because we're going to bring in this high level talent in to work with you here. And we were so excited. And the best part were like doing the vignettes leading to it. There was the famous cemetery graveyard one was awesome. And then to get in there that night, I remember that first night, I remember Taker walked up behind me. I knew he was behind me, so I did the old. And oh please! And luckily for him, his hair was down because he went like he laughed.
Yeah.
He giggled, but it was fun. It was incredible being there to ring with him, and then it was great because that exposed him to me. So when I came up to the roster a couple years later, he was already familiar with me and my work. So he was very forgiving and giving when it came to interactions we would have because he was familiar with what I was capable of doing.
In your memories of a man that we talk about constantly on the show, Paul Bearer being coming along to try and add to the ambiance of the matches.
Uncle Paul was one of the kindest, sweetest, most dearest souls this business and world has ever had in it. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He'd tell you about Hank Williams all night long. And he was just, he was a blessing to have him in my life even for a short amount of time.
Well, we miss him every day, that's for sure. One thing we always like to do when we talk about the different territories and the unique personalities, that almost the name game, so to speak. Maybe short story, long story, little opinion, big opinion, but different personalities you encountered in the world of Smoky Mountain before we hit the time out. What about a great guy that I always thought added so much to the NWA soundtrack, Bob Caudle?
Bob Caudle was, I worked with him just a couple times at the beginning. I loved him as a voice. I grew up listening to him, knew the game, knew it well, and could tell a story. Yes.
Les Thatcher.
Oh.
You talk about a great mind for wrestling.
I was going to say,
time.
I was going to say a savant. Like, he's a wrestling savant. Like, he knew this business. And if he were going to stop and give you a lesson, stop whatever you were doing, sit down, fold your hands, and learn.
I don't know if it's the most PC thing to say at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, but I think the CAC lost something when Les used to do a free seminar for the independent guys with Harley Race over the course of 2 or 3 days every year leading up to the independent show they have. It was the funniest thing. We've mentioned your buddy Warbeard Hanson Ivar, whose hair you cut in the MWF in years past, but the first time I brought Todd with me to one of these, I don't know if he had gone to a Subway or something like that for lunch, but Les and I had this very animated conversation about, I guess, things we hated in wrestling. Mm-hmm. And when he walked in, he thought we were having an argument, when in reality it was just a great conversation about pro wrestling. But I mean, you know what? Maybe Les Thatcher is a far less angry version of Jim Cornette in the way he presents things on social media and whatnot. But what a great mind for the industry.
He has a way, an opinion, and a view of how the business should be, and he'll stick to his guns, and he will die on that hill. That's what he believes in, and I'm sorry, it's worked for a long time.
He can be a little salty too.
He can, but that's
not in Cornette's.
No, not quite.
Not that much salt.
But I don't take it as salty. I take it as passion.
Yeah.
That's
passion. How I look at it.
It's his passion for the business.
Yeah. Another one before we hit the break, as we continue to go the comedy route, the Smoky Mountain Wrestling version of Jim Ross.
Oh, JR back then was amazing. He's always been good to me my entire career. But it was cool hearing him, he would walk around and go, hey, what do I need to know about you to put on the broadcast? So he would do his homework.
He
cared enough because his presentation was going to be the most accurate presentation he could have out there. So I'll forever be a JR fan.
Yeah, and then you worked a heck of a lot with him in WWF as he provided the soundtrack to a good portion of your career there. Right now, wrestling fans, we're going to take a brief time out. Catch you up on things going on in the world of the Cauliflower Alley Club, how you can join, as well as non-stop endeavors to help trying to keep professional wrestling legends working. We'll be back on the flip side. Stand by.
Wrestling fans looking for the perfect holiday gift? Discount VIP packages and tickets to Boston Wrestling Soul Survivor 10 Back to the 80s, Saturday night, April the 16th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts are on sale now. Join WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts, 3-time WWE Tag Team Champions Axe and Smash Demolition, The Wild Berzerker, and more 1980s legends to be announced. Take part in a VIP exclusive Q&A session. Meet the wrestling icons up close and personal in an autograph and photo fan fest. Then get ready as the superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow take part in a night of white-hot in-ring action. Discount VIP packages and tickets are on sale now for a limited time at bostonwrestling.com. Join us for a professional wrestling reunion decades in the making, April the 16th.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti.
MJ in the house.
Future WWE Hall of Famer, mind you. Let me tell you this.
I'm not in there yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But you will be.
Yeah, I will.
You know Sean wants to be the first three-timer.
Three-timer,
yeah.
yes.
There you go. Let me tell you, you enjoy the in-studio shoot interviews 4 times a week. It isn't cheap to put these productions together, folks. We need your
No,
help.
because they got to pay me.
Okay. Coronavirus has killed the nightlife in a lot of ways. We are night owls, Marty and I, but that's a different story for a different time. One way you can help is to check out the great merchandise we have in the Boston Wrestling eBay store. It is perfect for any wrestling man cave or any collection.
That's right. Check it out.
On October 28, 2020, Wrestling's Scariest Night was back with WWE NXT Halloween Havoc. This limited edition collector's autograph poster is number 12 of only 100 produced and is signed by all 9 superstars featured on the poster, including Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Dexter Loomis, Cameron Grimes, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Gonzalez, and your Halloween Havoc host, Shotzi Blackheart. Comes with WWE authentication hologram on the back. You'll also receive an on-air thank you from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus mystery autograph photo. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome collectible now. Wrestling fans, get ready for a weekend of the unpredictable as the Berzerker, John Nord, returns to MWF Studios in Melrose the weekend of Saturday, January the 22nd. Wrestling Insider Throwback Thursday tapings, live episodes, watch-alongs, cyber autograph signings, and more. Boston Wrestling Patreon fans can meet the Berzerker for free. For more information and mail order info, head on over to thebostonwrestling.com super site now. Don't miss the Berzerker, January 22nd.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to Wrestling Insiders as we wrap up another great episode of great wrestling talk with a great man in this business, still contributing after his full-time in-ring televised days. And you're in still pretty good enough shape. I can see you getting back in there again.
No, my body hurts way too much now. I'm good being on the other side of the camera.
You think you've had your retirement match?
Well, it's wrestling. Never say
never. You never say never.
The word never does exist in wrestling. Just,
you're not planning on it.
I'm not planning on it.
There you go. He's not planning on it. But let's continue. I love to play the name game. You never know what little stories and little anecdotes you might pick up about people that you'd never hear otherwise. One guy we talked an awful lot about after he passed, and I learned so much about with different legends that we had come to the studio and different stars we had come to the studio. Bob Armstrong.
One of the coolest dudes. I love the entire Armstrong family. I think at some point I put the entire Armstrong family over, including Mama Armstrong. But Bob you'd go out there and he was so cool because you'd have this match. You could feel his star power in the ring. And then he would come back and he would pull you aside and he would break it down for you. And he'd break the match down and go, you did this. And he would never, it wasn't demeaning. He would be like, you did this. How about try this next time? Okay. And he would really, really, really give you, so then when you get in the ring with him the next time, you could see, if you paid attention to what he was saying, you could tell he knew. You know, you could tell, and he just, it was good being around him. So, Bullet Bob, I miss you. I love you. Thank you for all the lessons.
And one kind of general consensus I think a lot of the guys would come to is that he loved the area that he lived in. Mm-hmm. He loved being there. If he kind of branched out from that area, he might have become a much, much bigger superstar than he actually was for all of the great contributions that he did give to the sport.
Yeah, I mean, he could have translated on a national level easy.
Yeah.
Easy. He was solid, and he was tough as nails. Legit tough as nails.
And what about a guy along the Armstrong route that I think was one of the more, again, underrated talents of his generation from what I see just on WCW television? His son, Brad Armstrong, who was a Smoky Mountain regular for a bit.
Not knowing what the definition of the word work was, I always would have watched him on TV and knew that kid was special. Like, he was just on a different level there. He moved differently. Later on in life, I realized that he could work better than other people. He just had a better ring presence. I don't know why he never translated to a larger level. I don't know why. I look at him, and he had the look. He could talk. He could move. He had everything to be a star, a superstar.
So smooth.
It's too smooth almost. It was like watching silk blow in the wind. It was just that easy.
Let me ask your opinion on this, because it had come up a few times. A lot of guys would say in the locker room, he had this large, fun, funny personality, but for whatever the reason, it never translated in a pro wrestling ring.
And that sometimes people don't, their charisma doesn't leave the locker room. I mean, a guy like Dean Malenko is funny as hell in the locker room. And I think Road Dogg was the opposite of Brad, where he's just funny all the time, and then you get in the ring and he's even more funny. So he took it to another level. But I wonder, maybe that was it, that lack of personality, but then put him with a manager and go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar didn't have the greatest personality, but
Right.
he makes a.
He's done all right for
He's
himself.
done all right for himself.
He's done all right for himself. He's earned more in a year than some people, some rosters have earned in their
He
career.
earned more. He's probably earned more this past weekend than most rosters.
Dear Lord, you know what? And hey, good for him to be
Hey,
able
good
to
on
get
him.
it, right?
Good on him. Yes.
Good for
on
him to be able to get it. I know you mentioned a little bit about some of their generosity with the merchandise and so on, but some folks that you worked with an awful lot. The Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson.
Two of the best people to be around. Ricky and Robert, they're another ones who would take time to teach you, particularly because we were in the ring with them every night, so they wanted to make sure timing was down and the rhythm was good. But they would take time and pull you apart and pull you over and go, hey, this. When we did this, try this next time. Yes. And then when you do, you'd be like, holy snap, that was good. And you did see Ricky go, hey, because he had that little giggle. And I remember one time, you know, the rock and roll chant, rock and roll. It was a big chant, right? So I remember Robert going like this. He goes, hey, watch this. And he goes, rock and roll, right? And the crowd starts going. And in the middle of that, he starts chanting, we're so old. We're so old. But the people are still chanting rock and roll. And I'm sitting there going, you're going to make me laugh in front of all these people right now. Because he was trying to have fun and entertain. So both of them are good guys. If I saw them right now, I'd walk up and hug them and kiss them both on the cheek right now.
You know, as we continue to go through some of these great names, as someone that didn't get to see much Smoky Mountain, it seems like such a great mix of young guys cutting their teeth in the business around such a great group of grizzled veterans that knew the industry so well. Cornette, it seems like, again, for all the people that knock him for certain opinions that he has about wrestling in 2021, he certainly had a pretty good vision for what he would have liked Smoky Mountain to have been during what was a dead time in the industry as a whole, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Cornette really had a good roster that was, as you appropriately pointed out, was a mixture of all different generations of the business. And that was intentional because he wanted us young kids to learn from the vets. And if you go back and look, I mean, Smoky Mountain was the first developmental territory. Because if you look at the list of guys who have come from there, it would take me an hour to list all the talent that have shown up on WWF or WCW TV that all went through Smoky Mountain in its existence. He knew what he wanted. He had a vision and he executed the plan, and he gave a lot of people their first break and a great start in this business.
I think WWF should consider itself very lucky that Cornette didn't want to work with anyone in WCW other than Bill Watts. Because you got to remember, that was the first exposure I ever had to Smoky Mountain was on WCW TV.
Yeah, that's right, because they worked with them, and then Bill Watts got let go.
And then Cornette said, bye-bye, no Eric Bischoff.
And then Cornette came and worked for Vince right after that. And that's when he was going back and forth between Smoky and Vince. And that's, I mean, yes, there's a lot of people who are very lucky. I think the business is lucky. But there's a lot of talent, including myself, who are lucky that he had that relationship.
And you talk about almost developmental. How about these two folks, Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch?
Chris, I've known for a long time, and he's one of the most genuine.
Jersey guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And another Monster Factory guy.
Oh, really?
Yes. Okay. Another one of those guys who he knew this business inside out. To be so young, he was very learned about the ins and outs of pro wrestling. And Tammy was just a natural from day one. You didn't know she was going to be the level of star she became. You just knew she was going to be a star. But she had that it factor before other women had that it factor. You know, she was the first diva. So, good friends of mine, I could definitely call Tammy right now and say, hey, we probably talk for 2 hours. And Chris, I miss him and I love him.
And you know, you look at the landscape of pro wrestling today, how much of a bigger star would Chris Candido have been in 2021
man.
when we talk about size?
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah,
too, because
exactly.
His level of work would have mixed in perfectly with a Daniel Bryan or a CM Punk, or he would fit into today's construct of the business perfectly. Like he was ahead of his time because he was having matches like that in
the
'94.
mid-90s?
Yes,
Yeah.
in '94. Because he had that mixture of Japanese and lucha and then the ground and pound. He had all that, and he was way ahead of his time. But yeah, he would fit in perfectly in today's world.
And you talk about a sad loss, the way he passed away. Just trying to get home on an airplane.
Just
for it to turn into what it turned into.
A freak accident with he had the foot had the leg broken and car blood clot from altitude, which you don't think that's a possibility. You don't think. I mean, flying on an airplane is one of the safest things we do. It's safer than driving.
Yeah.
Airplanes to me are like
right,
buses.
sure is. Yeah.
They're like a bus to me. I just get on them and go.
Yeah. I feel much safer in an airplane than a car.
Oh, I do too.
How often do you hear about an airplane crash compared to a car crash?
Yes, and there's when you're on the highway, there's 10,000 cars
every
that can hit you.
Every time you're on the highway.
Yep, there's 10,000 cars that can hit you. Up there, if another plane hits you, that's really, really catastrophic. So yeah.
And it's good to see that with all the troubles that she's had, that Sonny's out of jail again, and hopefully she'll, continue to find a better path in life, and I still think she can contribute to wrestling in a different way. You talk about someone that a strong personality, but someone that, not to knock the women, but someone that from a female point of view, in my interactions with her, I thought she really got it.
Yes, and I think just like younger male talent need those elder statesmen to teach them the ways of the world, I think Sonny can contribute in a lot of ways. I hope that she gets an opportunity to show what she can do because she knows the business very well.
And just hopefully that her life continues to go in that
that's
way.
that's the important thing is to keep a positive life for her and move
whether
forward.
she's in wrestling, out of wrestling,
whatever it is,
just the life stays good.
Yes,
So
that's
she
all
doesn't
you worry
wind up
about.
on a negative. Yeah. What about you talk about guys that had famous valets? A man that made a pit stop in Smoky Mountain that we lost. I didn't even realize how young it was until I was prepping for this. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Wow.
I'm talking early 30s passed away.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was quite that. Maybe it's because I was young when it happened, but my gosh, I didn't realize he was that young.
He's another one. He was like a shooting star. Like he burned bright but burned out fast. But man, could he flat out just wrestle? Could he could piss a crowd off in 3 sentences. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care. You didn't have to know who Eddie Gilbert was. He could walk out to the arena, and within 3 minutes, you're either booing him out of the building or you're ready to fight with him. You know what I'm saying? You're ready to cheer him on and be. He was good. He was damn good.
Even if you were the dad that brought your kid to the show that had zero interest in wrestling, seeing him come out and do his thing, he was going to piss you off.
Yes, he was going to get under your skin, and he was going to make you remember his name even if you didn't know it when you walked in the building.
And we talk about passed away in 1995 at the age of 33. Look at how young he was when he was on the NWA booking committee.
Yeah, and that says a lot about him.
I mean, come on.
But he came from a wrestling family.
Yep.
And, his brother was a wrestler, his father was a referee. So
his dad wrestled too, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sir. Tommy. Yeah. So, he'd been in it, and then he'd been professional for, in his mid-teens, right? So he'd been around for a long time by the time he passed. So that's why it seemed longer than what it. That's why it felt like he was older than what it was.
Yeah.
It's like Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett's another one.
And he's really not that old of a guy.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right around my age, and he's got probably 10 years or more ring time than I do. But he'd been around, and just doing this since the time he was knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah. Probably right around my age when I got involved with it, if not younger. Because look at it, even his grandmother was
His
involved.
his grandmother's promoter.
Yeah.
His father was promoter. He's third generation. So I mean, he grew up in this life. So he's been, it's about wrestling since the day he came out. He was born since he came out.
Well, we got a ton more names to go through, but I got the signal from Captain Lou that unfortunately we have to start the wrap-up. I'll throw one more at you.
Okay.
What about we talk about developmental, my dear Lord? What about a young, who fans may not recognize by this name, Unabomber?
Oh!
A heck of a guy.
Glenn Jacobs, a.k.a. Kane. He and I bonded in Smoky Mountain, and it's a friendship we still have today. You can call him Mr. Mayor. He's the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, and one of the most intelligent men I've ever been around. One of the most genuine souls you could ever be around. And just don't be intimidated by him or his size. He's a sweetheart, and he always has been, always will be.
Percy Paul Bearer always said, of all his men, he was the easiest that he ever had to work with. Just so pleasant, so easy, never an issue, never a worry, always on time, always very professional.
Mm-hmm.
He loved working with Kane in WWF.
Just an amazing guy. I introduced him, little known fact, I introduced Glenn Jacobs to his wife, Crystal. I did that.
Let me tell you this. I have seen pictures of the two of them together. You talk about a size difference.
Oh, yeah. She's an itty bitty.
I mean, even for the average man, I think she'd be kind of considered a little lady.
She's an itty bitty,
Yeah.
And when you're 6'9", everybody's itty bitty.
Everybody's itty bitty to begin with, never mind a little lady.
Right.
All right, wrestling fans, if you love episodes like this, stories like this, the good news is we're going to be back with more. But let us know. We have the premiere chat going right now. If you're watching during the kickoff to this episode, the super chat button is always open. Leave us a comment in the comment section below if you're not watching live. A thumbs up if you're enjoying all this great wrestling talk, goes a long way. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel for free. We have over 2,000 free videos for your professional wrestling enjoyment. Both our in-ring, MWF Live Wrestling, and these great talk shows. For the veteran D'Lo Brown, I'm still Dan Marotti, unfortunately. We'll be back with another episode of Wrestling Insiders soon. You and yours be well, stay healthy. Good night from Las Vegas.
Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.